This evening, the on-court antics of Nick Kyrgios sink to a new low. The volatile Australian star launches a vulgar slur at Stan Wawrinka. Hello, I'm Peter Wilkins and this is Grandstand. It's good to have your company. Nick Kyrgios has added another controversial chapter to his young career, sparking a bitter tirade from French Open champion Stan Wawrinka. The 20-year-old Australian advanced to the third round of the Montreal Masters when Wawrinka retired hurt, but an argument with his opponent in the second set ended in a sledging low point. Kyrgios let fly with a tasteless remark about the Swiss player's girlfriend.
I thought... he was getting a bit lippy at me, so I don't know. It's just in the moment sort of stuff. But yeah, I didn't really know. I just said it.
Wawrinka responded on social media. It is so disappointing to see a fellow athlete and colleague be so disrespectful in a way I could never even imagine. What was said, I wouldn't say to my worst enemy. To stoop so low is not only unacceptable, but also beyond belief. There is no need for this kind of behaviour on or off the court, and I hope the governing body of this sport does not stand for this and stands up for the integrity of the sport that we have worked so hard to build. Despite recording the first victory over New Zealand in 4 years, Wallabies coach Michael Cheika has continued to experiment with the selection ahead of the Bledisloe Cup decider. He's made 6 changes to the team, including the return of Quade Cooper.
Quade Cooper doesn't have many fond memories of playing at Eden Park.
And the crowd just reminding Quade Cooper that he is still public enemy number 1.
But he'll be given the chance to make up for past performances when he returns to the Wallabies starting side on Saturday night.
I believe in him a lot as a person and as a player.
After being dropped for the Sydney Test, Cooper is a surprise replacement for Bernard Foley at fly half.
It's a bit of a shock to me because if you cast your memory back to 2011, the crowd were just incessantly booing and the camera would always stay on him for longer than they needed to.
It's not like we're the favourite people over there, so I think we're not going to be welcomed, put it that way.
Matt Giteau has been relegated to the bench with Matt Tamua to start at inside centre, while Cheika has abandoned last week's tactic to start open side flankers David Pocock and Michael Hooper together.
I think if we just stay the same all the time, will become a little easy to pick, perhaps.
It's some big changes, but he's been consistently doing it every test and it's worked, so who's to argue with that logic?
After New Zealand's first loss to Australia in 4 years, the stage is set for a showdown at Eden Park.
They're going to come out like men possessed because they're playing for not only their own pride, their family's pride, their country's pride and their World Cup selection. So it's all to play for. So that'll be a far different team that turned up last Saturday in Sydney.
A win for the Wallabies would see them regain the Bledisloe Cup for the first time in 13 years. Jennifer Browning, ABC News.
The Australian women's cricket team is in a commanding position heading into the third day of the Ashes Test against England. Australia declared at 9 for 274 before bowling England out for just 168. Early on the second day, Jess Jonasson fell just 1 run short of a century on her Test debut for Australia. After declaring, the Australian bowlers set about dismantling the English top order. Elise Perry took 2 early wickets as the home side struggled to score freely. England were eventually dismissed for 168, with Megan Shute taking 4 wickets.
Be able to get 10 wickets on a pretty low and docile wicket in the end.
Australia will start its second innings tonight with a lead of 106 runs. The visitors will be looking to extend their lead in the multi-format series. Moses Enriquez is back into full training after a sickening collision playing in England, which left him with a broken jaw. The 28-year-old will again lead the Sydney Sixers in the Big Bash this summer, and earlier this week he spoke with the ABC's Patrick Galloway.
Moses, thanks for joining us on Grandstand. Tell us, where are you at with your preparation for the summer at the moment?
Basically, it's been 7 weeks of recovery now from the I guess the 3 fractures in the jaw, but that's coming along well. It's starting to feel somewhat back to normal, but I feel healthy and fit, which is important, and I've been back into unrestricted training for the last 2 or 3 weeks now, so yeah, everything's sort of progressing in the right direction.
How scary was it?
It's a tough question because I was never really scared because I didn't know the collision was coming. I guess by the time I woke up and knew what was going on, it was a little bit of just trying to understand what had happened and understand what the processes of recovery was.
What did you make of Michael's decision to retire at the weekend?
Yeah, I guess from a personal point of view, from a player that's played with him and a friend that's played with him, and also someone who enjoys watching him play, it's disappointing for me to watch him, I guess, say he's not going to play cricket again at an international level. I was obviously hoping to play with him again at some stage. I think it's going to be a big loss for Australian cricket.
I guess it will trigger a lot of change though, and potentially that could equal opportunity.
It does equal opportunity, and there'll be, I think they've got a pretty good leader ready to go there in Steve Smith. I think a fantastic cricketer, and he's got a great head on his shoulders. If he does step into that role, which I'm sure he will, he'll do a great job as well. But, I guess it's replacing that type of batter as well. You've got to replace his runs, you've got to replace Michael's runs, you've got to replace his experience and his, I'm not sure whether there'll be someone in the team now that's had that sort of wealth of experience, and it's going to be tough for Steve not to be able to go to Michael with ideas or go to someone like Brad Haddin with an idea, since Brad's not in the team anymore either.
Let's talk Sydney Sixers. Greg Shippard's appointment, that must be exciting. He's someone who's had winning experience at 2020 before.
It is very exciting, mate. As you just touched on, he's been a very successful coach for Victoria before the franchise BBL or the city-based BBL started. He had a very successful run with Victoria. The Stars have been a very successful team without winning a competition. I think they've made all the semi-finals. They've come first during the regular season on a couple of occasions, and they've just sort of fallen at the final hurdle.
Do you think the competition's getting more competitive?
Well, yeah, strangely enough, it's starting to build up its own kind of tradition. In the small time, it's very early to be saying tradition, but, when we play against the Thunder or when we play against the Stars, there's a sense of, oh, well, this happened 4 years ago and this happened there, and every game is remembered.
Well, Moses, thanks for your time on Grandstand. Good luck for the upcoming Big Bash, and before then, getting yourself 150%. Thanks for talking to us.
No worries, thanks for having me.
Australia remains on course to defend its Netball World Cup title, advancing to the semi-finals with a convincing win over South Africa. The Diamonds dominated from the opening whistle, holding South Africa to just 5 goals in the first period.
And the Aussie Diamonds are in a murderous mood because they lead it by 18 goals.
It was a phenomenal first quarter. If we had kept up that scoring capacity, we would have scored 100 goals. So, yeah, it was a good result.
The Australians slipped into cruise control after that, eventually winning 66 goals to 31. The Diamonds play Wales in their final qualification match tomorrow night. Australia's Belle Brockhoff has risen to 5th in the world in the Olympic sport of snowboard cross, but it hasn't been without her own personal anguish. The 22-year-old from Byron Bay has battled depression during her short but successful career. She's found solace in the snow in one of the most dangerous Olympic sports.
In Australia's alpine regions, snowboarder Belle Brockhoff has found an inner peace in an unlikely place.
I guess with all the adrenaline you have and just, even if it's just hitting one feature and nailing it or feeling that you've nailed it, it just gives you that boost,
Brockhoff burst onto the scene with an impressive 8th placed finish at the Winter Olympics in Sochi last year. The 22-year-old has risen through the ranks, coming 5th in the world last season. Not bad, considering she's from coastal Byron Bay.
Dad chucked me on skis and, I'm here.
By 10 years of age, Brockhoff had ditched the skis for a snowboard.
My mum bought a snowboard and I got so jealous of it and I really wanted to do it, so jumped on my own board.
Was it the cooler option?
I felt pretty cool, yeah. I felt real cool.
Away from the mountain, though, Brockhoff battled depression as a teenager. It was snowboarding that helped her during the tough times.
It was something that gave me a lot of peace of mind. It was like my meditation and, it always kept me really happy. So it was like an antidepressant.
Making the 2014 Olympic team was the breakthrough and the reward for her dedication.
cried. So it's been my dream since I was 10 years old when I first picked up my snowboard, and just all that work leading up to it. I was like, oh yeah, this is awesome. It finally paid off. But at the end of the day, like, all that work wasn't that hard at the end because it was something that I really enjoyed.
She's not limiting herself to one Olympic appearance either.
Second and hopefully third.
As she aims for the top of the podium, on top of the world. Ben Lisson, ABC News, Mount Hotham.
And that's Grandstand for now. Don't forget, you can also watch us on iView and the Grandstand website. See you soon.